Brother, we got a savage. We got a savage on the old podcast today, mate. It's an honor and privilege to get you on, mate.
Thank you, man. I'm very, very blessed.
And now you're walking through your hometown as a little bit of a celebrity, like you said.
Yeah, like my normal day job, I'm a teaching assistant in a school, and it's all the kids know me and all the parents know me. I My part time job, I'm a bouncer in a bar. I'm security in a bar, and yeah, it's gotten pretty hectic.
In what way, brother? Talk to me.
Um, like most 99% of the people are really cool, and they
Mm.
just like they're proud that I'm from their hometown and I'm doing big things. But there's some people that come in the bar, they think they want a shot at the title, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's always the case, right? The higher you climb, someone wants to drag you all the way back down.
Yeah.
Mate,
But
that's
no,
all right.
everybody, Middletown's a good town and they've been real supportive.
It's fucking awesome, man. So, if you're people that don't know who you are, do you want to give them a little bit of a lowdown of what you do?
What do I do? My name's Mike Diehl. I'm from Middletown, Ohio in the USA. And I have one arm because I was a firefighter. I was involved in a on duty accident where my arm was crushed between a fire truck and a wall and they had to cut it off.
Wow.
So now I do adaptive or disabled strongman.
That's
That's
unbelievable, mate. I think you're the first. I've seen a guy in the UK. I can't recall his name, so that's on me. But he does strongman in a wheelchair. So he does seated strongman,
Yeah,
which
I know a
is
lot of the guys from England. It's probably Mac McLaren or uh, Martin Ty, or there's several.
that's unbelievable. But I've not seen anybody in your position yet. So I was like, bro, this is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
It's cool. How did you get into it? Were you into strongman before the accident, or did you kind of pick it up afterwards?
No, I played semi-professional and professional football before the accident. I went when I was a firefighter. I've spent my whole life in public service. I was in the U.S. Navy. I was a police officer, a firefighter. So I've always been physically active. But I got into strongman after I lost my arm. I met a guy named James Spurgeon. The man's a legend in the sport of disabled strongman, and he said I'd be really good at it. So now we battle each other all the time. He still got me though. I've never beaten him.
You get there, man.
Oh yeah,
You got to get that camaraderie and that little bit of competition to keep us going the way.
yeah, man. He's from Ohio also, so it's pretty good rivalry. We have a good time.
Right. So, what made you want to go into the public service?
Um, when I was in high school, all I wanted to be was either a firefighter or a high school teacher. And when I got out of high school, I joined the Navy, did my 4 years in the Navy, and when I got out, I kind of wandered around for a little while, like some young guys do.
Yeah.
And I decided to become a police officer because there's not a lot of people willing to do those things for a little bit of money and no respect. So I was a police officer for a year, and after that, I got sick of being disrespected and treated badly, even by my own family sometimes. So I became a firefighter, and everybody started loving me.
Mm. It's a strange dynamic in it with the police. It seems like it's the same dynamic in no matter what country you're in. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, we rely on you to protect us, but also fuck you. And you're just like,
yeah,
this doesn't make any sense, guys.
yeah.
And
Nobody
they
likes anybody that can take away their freedom.
For sure, man. But they're in handcuffs too at the end of the day. Like they got to report to somebody and they got to report to somebody else and it goes up the
Yeah,
chain. It's like they're just trying to do the job at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah. Most guys are just trying to do their job and go home to their families.
That's it. And public service is one hell of a role, man. And it takes one hell of a special character to be able to get through that.
Yeah. Um, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but I'm one of those guys that just refuses to give up. And when somebody tells me I can't do something, well, you can bet your ass I'm going to go do it now. So that's why I did really well in public service. So
Mate, that sounds all too familiar for me, man. So let's talk adaptive strongman.
yeah,
Limitations.
there are
Talk.
none.
I
The
love
only
it.
limitation is bad attitude. That's why we don't like being called disabled athletes anymore.
Hmm.
We're adaptive athletes. because with a little adaptation and a little forethought, we can do anything anybody else can do.
I completely agree, brother. We coach a lot of I'm down in New Zealand, and we coach a lot of adaptive athletes, whether they're neurodivergent, whether they're seated, whether they're standing, whether they've got an amputee, whether it's an abnormality at birth, whatever it is, right? An accident. Literally anybody and everybody with some sort of adaptation. Let's get in the door. Let's figure it out. Let's work out. And that's what you can do, literally. And I make the same point of, okay, if you're a quote unquote able-bodied athlete, right? I hate this fucking word, but I'm going to use it because it's going to make sense. Normal person, right? Because what is normal, right? At the end of the day, nobody's normal. But anyway, they walk into the gym, like, great, you're going to have to adapt things. You're going to have to adapt things every day because the body might be sore. You might have an injury. You might be a bit too stressed out. You might have a past injury from 20 years ago. Like, it's all the same. We're going to have to adapt things if somebody's deaf. I might have to sign with them rather than like talk to them for obvious reasons, and that's all it is. That's all it's about, slightly just changing. All it is an adaptation. And that's what we want from training anyway, is for the body to adapt. So why don't we adapt the apparatus to get that same stimulus?
Yeah, that's all we ever want, man, is just be treated like everyone else. And to like, for me, this is a lot of fun, and I'm having a great time traveling the world and doing big things. But I just want people to understand, you can do this, that anybody can do this. You just have to be willing to be disciplined and do hard things. I coach high school football, and I preach, do hard things to all of my boys, because it'll make you strong. And the only way to get strong is to do things that are more difficult, and they become easier. And once they become easier, you add more weight or you add more reps to make it hard again.
100%, mate. Like, what's that dynamic like with the high school age? That's my favorite age to coach, bro.
High school boys, man, they're something else. But like, my philosophy in coaching is that, like, I'm kind of a hard ass, man, and I'm very disciplined and old school. And but if you love them first, if you love your boys and you love your students and your athletes first, they'll do anything for you because they know you care more about them than you do the sports. Mm-hmm. So like, I may ride their ass, I may chew on them real bad, but they know at the end of the day, I love them more than I love what they're doing for me.
100%, mate. Did you ever watch the Last Chance U?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Coach JB, when he said, "Hate me now, love me later," and really resonated with me, man. Because I've coached that age group for a long time, and it's my favorite age group. The 12 to 18, the really fucked up, the juvenile detention, the orphan, the single parent. I like that age group, right? Those kind of like kick to the curb and just no, don't worry about them. It's like no, they're the lads that I'm going to worry about. Let's bring them in the gym. You bring them out on the field. I'll bring them out on the gym. It's like, all right, cool. Let's teach you life through physical adversity, right? And then we're also going to get some sort of discipline from that, because most of us, like you and myself, we're not the smartest of cookies in the jar. We're not going to do the best in academia, and like, that doesn't mean we got no space in society. That just means you're not going to, like, I don't know, be a lab scientist or something. And great, you've got enough of them. We're going to do something else though. And it's rather than them looking at like, oh, I don't get A's, so I'm going to go hit the streets. You're like, whoa, that's two extremes here, mate. And we've now just forgotten about the rest of the spectrum,
Yeah. Like, I grew up pretty blessed. My dad was at home. My stepmom was at home, and but I made a lot of bad choices, and made some mistakes that could have set me back a long time and sent me to some pretty bad places. And sports kept me kind of from going too deep into that dark place,
Yeah, it's got a very, very unique thing, sport. It can really make or break some people, and we hold that responsibility in our hands as coaches, right? And we see these young men and women come through the door or come out onto the field, and you're like, okay, well, I basically have to facilitate the growth of these young adults at the end of the day.
Yeah.
and plant the seed, because eventually they'll end up watering it themselves. But we got to plant the seed in the right environment. If you let them know about certain things, they might go off. The next thing you know, they're slanging and banging. You're like, that's not the greatest of things that we should be doing, guys. Or you could plant the seed about something else, right? And they might be growing in a different direction, and that's exactly what we want.
Yes, sir.
What's the biggest thing that you've learned from coaching?
That my job as a coach isn't to win trophies and championships and win football games. It's to inspire young minds to never give up, man. Adversity is going to come to everyone, but adversity causes some men to break, but it causes others to break records. It's less about your circumstances and more about what you're made of. The same boiling water that softens a potato hardens an egg. You know, so with that in mind, like I like to use adversity and use hard things to make people tough and make them understand what they're capable of. You know.
Mm. In what way would you do that? So if somebody is listening, is like not really involved in fitness, not really got involved with like high school sport, what way would you show them that?
And that's a lot of the guys that I deal with are very very disciplined and very they want it really bad. That their desire is there, but occasionally I come across somebody that they may want the results, but they don't want the work. And you
Yeah.
can't have it both ways. So you have to, like, one step at a time, very slowly, show them that if you work hard enough, there's nothing you can't have or do. And there's going to be a lot of people that tell you, no, you can't have that, no, you can't do that. But just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean you can't do it. And people get discouraged when they don't get immediate results. We're in a fast food culture now, and they want it and they want it now, and they don't want slow progress. And that's what sports and weight training and physical fitness, you're in it for the long haul. And it sometimes it gets difficult to get especially young athletes to buy in to that, the idea that you got to keep working, and you're not going to see it right away. But today you're going to lose 1 pound or you're going to gain 1 pound of muscle. But a year from now, you're not going to be the same person you were. So
For sure, man. That's why I love that barbell. I think it's such a great metaphor for life. At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter who puts their hands on it. It don't give a fuck about you. It don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. It don't care where you're going. It don't care what you look like, your ability, your strengths, your weaknesses. It don't give a shit about you.
yeah,
It's
man.
always going to weigh that 20 kilos, right? Or that 15
Yeah,
kilos.
I tell people all the time. They're like, "Why do you love it so much?" I'm like, "There's going to be a million people that blow smoke up your ass and tell you how great you are, and they don't even know you. And then there's going to be people that, no matter what you do, they're gonna hate you. But 200 pounds is always 200 pounds, and there's some truth in that. The weight room always kicks you the real deal, and you can't lie, you can't hide it. If you're not strong, you're not fucking strong. If you can't lift the weight, you can't lift it today. But if you keep working, you'll lift it. You'll lift it eventually. You know.
Yeah,
But but the but
100%.
the weight room never lies.
Never lies, man. And it teaches us to be humble as well, right? Because sometimes we might still be able to lift the same weight, but it crushes our fucking soul. And then other days, like, we pick it up and you're like, did I load that right? Is that less weight? You're like, no,
Yeah.
it's the same. You're like, what the fuck? And it's that ever evolving, ever changing. And it teaches us to be humble as well, right? And I think that's one of
Yeah.
the greatest things from that weight room, it's like, you've got to be humble, man.
And it teaches you balance between confidence and humble.
Mm.
But the more you lift and the more you take care of yourself and the better shape you're in, the more confident you become in your ability to do almost anything in life. But like you said, it will break you if you're not humble.
Mm. So I kind of believe in a concept that men need to suffer, and I think ladies do too. But I've just anecdotally, just from talking to men and women, ladies probably figure it out in other ways because they're a lot smarter than we are,
Yeah.
and dudes are a little bit, less marbles upstairs. and we got to go out and suffer a little bit. What is your relationship with suffering?
Suffering, man. Like there was a while after my accident where I was in a pretty dark place. And I had some people that are much smarter than me that I respect a lot come to me and give me some perspective on things. And one of the greatest lessons I was ever taught was that it's not about me, and the suffering that I've been through. Suffering does not give you an excuse to wallow in idle self-pity, but rather gives us the perspective to address the suffering of others. Maybe there's someone that's going through something. Maybe they're losing an arm. Maybe they were born a certain way. Maybe they're just going through some shit that their brain can't handle, and they're going to see what guys like me and James Spurgeon and podcasts like you're doing right now, and they're gonna find the strength to not give up. So what I went through, yeah, it sucked, dude. It was hard, but it's not about me. And one of my favorite motivational speakers, Inky Johnson, he said, someday you're going to run into something that's much tougher than you. And if it's all about you, you're going to quit, but because it's not about me, I have something to keep going for. I have my son, I have other amputees, I have veterans, I have people that believe in me. And if I give up, they'll give up. So it's bigger than just me. Sports and fitness, and it'll fix your life, man, if you let it.
Yeah, it really is bigger than ourselves, like I think we get very self-absorbed. Yeah, we are everything, but we are also nothing. It has to be some sort of balance between the two of those. And people are able to empathize with each other. You're not the only person who's suffering.
Yeah,
And you got to have that conversation with yourself every day of like, it might feel like the end of the world. You might feel like nobody understands and you are just this singular figure in the darkness, right? But at the same time, you are not the only person who is suffering, and people suffer in different ways. And we can connect through that weird portion of life where everything feels like it's falling to pieces. And it's through that social synergy where we end up pulling everybody forwards, because a
yeah,
pull factor is always stronger than a push, right?
yeah. And it's always a matter of perspective, man. What might be tough for me might be really easy for someone else, and what they're going through might you know be super easy for me. It's all different for everybody. And suffering, like you said, man, it, it it's the universal language.
Mhm.
you know Everybody's going through something. So it's hard to explain, but it's like you said, it's necessary, especially for men, to to suffer, because the only way to get stronger is to deal with pain and deal with struggle. And it hardens you, and not in a bad way. It can in a bad way, some people, but like if you're open-minded to dealing with the pain of suffering and struggle, then you'll get better at it. Just
Mhm.
like lifting weight. Say 5 pounds is heavy. Next day you can lift 10 like it's nothing.
Mhm.
And I whenever I'm going through it, man, I don't ask God for a lighter load. I ask for a stronger back. You know?
100%, and that's how we grow as well, right?
Yeah.
It's Milo and the bull, that old
Yeah.
Greek mythology. It's like he picked up a calf and walked with it, and every single day he kept picking up this same cow until it turned into this massive monstrosity. And the next thing you know, you're walking around with this huge beast on your back. You're like, yeah, like it's just obviously the basis of progressive overload for
Yeah.
modern strength and conditioning. But at the same time, it's like that is also upstairs as well.
Yeah.
If you able to endure a little piece of suffering, when you're young, and then you slowly just ramp up that dose, essentially you're going to be able to endure everything. You're going to be a
Yeah.
lot harder to kill. It's like
Yeah.
that slow, if you poison yourself with a microdose very, very slowly, every single day, you smash yourself with a big dose, it's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
It's just the same with the mind. And I think again, like relating it back to our thing of physical adversity, I think it's got a really unique thing, because we can also improve our health, right? We can also improve our body, bone density, strength, muscle mass, hormones, all that stuff, but we're able
Yeah.
to also improve the mind as well, and at the same time, and that's really important.
Yeah. Everything in life is about balance, and nothing will bring you more balance than suffering and being humbled. So,
Bro, what's your purpose?
yeah. What's your purpose? My purpose, um, I just want one little kid to look at me someday and say, "Because of you, I didn't give up." That's
Mm,
it. That's all I'm looking for.
mm. I think you're already doing that, man, but that doesn't mean you can stop, you know?
Nah, not. We're finally getting there. Finally starting to reach people.
100%, man. Talk about your day job.
I'm a teaching assistant at a school for the sixth graders in the states. It's about 12 years, 11 or 12 years old, and but I only teach kids with special needs, like autistic kids or kids with behavioral problems or kids that suffer on a daily basis, but don't they haven't learned yet how to deal with that in a healthy way.
So what are some of the challenges that you see with this?
Um, like to be honest, like communication sometimes is a big barrier because they're speaking in, like, we may be both speaking Americanized English, but they're speaking how they feel in the way they know how to communicate. And I'm not walking in their shoes all the time, so I don't understand sometimes. But the 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 biggest like barrier to young people nowadays that I see is they're being taught a sense of entitlement, like the world owes you something, and uh I try to be kind, always be kind, man, because like there's a lot of people you don't know anything about or what load they're carrying, but at the end of the day, man, just like in the weight room, nobody owes you shit. If you want it, you got to go take it, and you have to teach these kids that, yeah, you can't read right now, but you can if you keep working. And I know it's hard, but you can do this. And giving up's not the answer. So a lot of these kids don't have good home lives, and uh, they don't get the support at home that we're trying to give them at school. And a lot of the barriers are socioeconomic. There, I don't really see a lot of racial issues, but I see some socioeconomic issues. People that have and people that don't have, there's a huge difference in the way they raise their kids. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of it boils down to that sense of entitlement that young people, and I've seen it around the world. I've traveled all over the world and I've seen it. Like, yeah, everybody's afraid of offending somebody, or you know, or like, you're again, the entitlement issue. Like, nobody owes you a damn thing.
Yeah.
So even at sixth grade, if you want good grades, you got to work hard. If you want better grades, you got to work a little harder. Uh, I'm a firm believer in meritocracy. You get what you deserve.
Mm. I completely agree with 2 points there, man. In the sense of the socioeconomic divide being the biggest one.
Yeah,
I believe so too. I think poverty knows no prejudice. At the end of the day, it
yeah,
doesn't give a shit about your fucking color of your skin, the height of your. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. If you
yeah,
got nothing in your pocket and you got an empty belly, that is also going to be the same for everybody.
yeah,
And then yeah, people do get offended about anything and everything. And guess what? They have the right to. But that also means we have the right to not give a shit about it.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, yeah. I
whatever.
agree.
Like go be offended over things. That's all right. Do your thing. But I'm gonna do
Yeah,
mine. And guess what?
yeah,
We don't have to like cross paths. We don't have to get in each other's way. That's the beauty of life. You have that freedom to just do
yeah,
whatever the fuck you want to do, essentially. And believe whatever you want to believe. And that's all right. Have that faith system that keeps you going and hopefully, puts a smile on your face every morning. And that's great. I hope it works for you. But just because you believe a certain way doesn't mean that everybody else has to believe a certain way. It's like this
yeah.
weird social crusade, right? It's just like, no, 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 we have to say these certain things so everybody does. And you're like, no, like,
No, yeah, fuck off.
like we speak English, but that doesn't mean everybody has to speak English.
Yeah,
There's different languages, there's different words that we can use, like I get it all the time because I swear like a sailor. Like, and I'll get it all the time. And you can't say that. I was like, well, technically you can't stop me, right? And you can say I'm not no longer welcome in that room. And I'm like, mega, that's not the room I'm supposed to be in. See you later. And people are just gonna figure out their own way of doing things. And I think the differences in people and how they end up living their life is a very unique beauty of life itself.
Yeah, that's the beauty in it, man. Is um, we're all different, but we're not.
Exactly.
The human condition is um, pretty average across the board. We all suffer. We all, have to eat. We all have to, you know. I cuss like a sailor too, and it's finding what room you're supposed to be in, like you said, and people think, yeah, like you said, people think that I do it this way, so you have to do it that way, and
Mm.
nah, I think that's gonna work for me. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, man. And like, it's like, oh, how do you do it? Oh, I'll do it this way. You're like, wow. Like, I never would have thought about that. Let me take some lessons. Let me learn from that. Let me understand your perspective. And guess what? I still don't have to change the way I live. I still don't have to
Yeah,
fucking do what you're gonna do. That's all right. But at least you've like opened your eyes to a different way of living, right? You've seen a different perspective, and then you can empathize with more people, show a little bit more compassion and kindness. You don't have to change the way you live. You don't have to
no,
change shit.
I'm like I try to be kind, and I've worked really hard to be an open-minded individual, but like my natural disposition, I'm a pretty mean, irritable, nasty dude. I've been through a lot in my life, and it's hardened me a little bit. And like people always want to like tell me, oh, you should be this way or you should be that way, or no, go fuck off. You know, I am the way I am, and that's not an excuse not to be open-minded and try to grow as a human being, but at the end of the day, I get to decide how I live, you know, and that hard headedness, that alpha male, like that served me really well, I've survived things that would kill other people, and and I have a son. I'm raising a son that looks up to me, and am I going to raise him to be weak? Weak things break. There's a gym here in Ohio, the super famous, world famous gym, West Side Barbell, and one of their mottos is "Weak things break."
Yeah.
I'm not going to raise my son to be weak. Be sensitive to other people, but don't be so sensitive that you can't withstand a little pain. You can't withstand a little work, a little suffering. You know, that's what, whether we like to admit it or not in this world, there's some people have and some people don't. And usually it boils down to how hard you're willing to work and how much pain you're willing to endure. So I'm not going to raise a weak young man. I'm not.
Because I think I completely agree, and I also think weak men cause a lot of problems for the world.
Yes, sir.
Like, and usually that, and I fucking hate to say it, but usually that gets thrown at the female side, and I think that's completely incorrect. As like
Absolutely.
you gotta sit with that shit, mate. You gotta be able to digest it. You gotta be able to figure it out, and then guess what? You gotta figure out the vocabulary to be able to communicate it effectively to somebody else.
Yes,
Like
sir.
it's not just like, oh, I'm going to bottle it up until it blows up, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, that's also a dumb idea to do as well, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to be able to do something physical and then something creative. And sometimes conversation is that creativity side where we need to, hey, okay, listen, this is what's going on, be able to explain. But also I need to do this. I need to go train. I need to go hike. I need to go swim or paint or whatever you do, right? To then
Yeah.
get things out. You're like, okay, great. Like you've communicated it effectively rather than just, oh no, things are gonna beat me up. I'm gonna feel certain things and then I'm just gonna lash out at whoever's close to me. You're like, that's the issue. But what's the root of the issue? The root of the
Yeah.
issue is you're weak, so you need to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. If you think strong men are dangerous, just wait and see what weak men are capable of doing. You know,
100%.
all of the major atrocities that have ever happened in this world were by men and people that were weak minded, and
Yep,
they were soft, and they didn't do the right thing because it was the right thing. You know,
don't
so
believe in that.
they weren't willing to stand up and be held accountable for what's right and what's moral and what's good for everybody, not just good for myself.
Yeah, 100%, man. I agree with that all the way. And it's a scary time, man, because a lot of the time you can't say shit like that, and it's like, no, we can have opinions and perspectives, and we can attack it from every different little perspective we can to be able to come to that conclusion or somewhat of this weird compromise of like, cool, how do we stop bad things from happening? Right.
Exactly. Like one of the problems in my country, and I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but we've been told for so long that we don't talk about politics and religion. So now nobody knows how to talk about politics and religion. You can't talk to somebody with a differing viewpoint or opinion without causing a fight or an argument, because nobody knows how to anymore.
Wow.
So
Wow.
everything's so divisive and polarized that there's no in between anymore. And you can't use common sense. You have to pick a side. No, fuck that. I'm going to take every individual basis or every individual topic on its own merit. You know what? I don't have to vote for a Democrat because I'm a Republican. I can vote for anybody I want or any topic I want. You know, and people have lost sight of why, especially in my country, why this country is great, and that's because I can do whatever I want to do as long as I'm not hurting anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a responsibility as a society, as a people around the world to not just care about ourselves, and that's where we've gotten lost.
We've gotten lost. And I love that way of putting it. Instead of just saying, oh no, they don't, or we don't, or you people don't. It's like, no, we just got lost. We just got off the track a little bit. And we can always find that path again, and we can go back to, the promised land, and that's all right. We can end
Yeah.
up building for a brighter future. It's just we just got a little lost. And then sometimes you gotta, hey, excuse me, do you know where this path is? And you gotta ask for directions. And
Yeah.
that's okay. We'll find that fucking
Yeah.
path again and we'll go again.
Amen. Um, I've been around the world and I've seen a lot of people, good and bad, but like I've come to the conclusion that like 99% of the world, they're good people
Yeah,
and they want to
100%.
and across the board around the world, we're electing leaders that don't have that same vision, and weak men do horrible things. So like you said, weak men cause a lot of problems throughout history. And the idea of toxic masculinity, I don't believe in that. True masculinity is a protector, is a lover, and will fight for things that matter to it. It's never abusive. It uplifts people. True masculinity is a great thing, and it's never used to put someone under their thumb.
Yeah, I would make the argument of that's a boy, not a man.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be the same if a lady was doing it. That would be a girl, not a woman. It's like that's not a mature person.
Healthy.
That's
Yeah,
definitely not a healthy person, right? And you're like, okay, well, and sometimes things happen. And you're like, great, like that's not okay, lock them up, throw away the key, they're an awful person. You're like, no,
yeah,
like how do we fucking one, help them, all right, and then two, stop it from happening in the future. You don't just chop off the whole thing and be like, right, no, they're all out. You're like, no, because they're also now gonna hate the rest of society and probably cause more pain. It's like we need to heal some things, and then we also need to prevent some things.
yeah. Oh, that's why like it starts with the home. It's
Mm,
not the government's responsibility to make you raise good children,
mm,
and a lot of the problems we have in this world uh, between physical and mental health stem from how we're raising our children. And like my son is a very gifted young man. I'm very blessed. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, but he's kind and he's loving, he's understanding, he's better than me. And because of that, I tell him every day, this isn't about you either. You have a responsibility to change the world. Because you're so blessed and so gifted, you have a very important responsibility to love people and protect people and take care of people, because the world will crush you if you let it. And you're strong enough to withstand that for you and for other people.
100%, man. Brother, I got three questions real quick.
Talk to me.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh man, that's like asking me what my favorite food or favorite music is. Um, like I'm not a Christian. I'm not, but love your neighbor like yourself, you know? And what I mean by that is like if you love other people the way you love yourself, then all the problems will go away. Because how do I love myself? I love myself more than anybody, right? I'm selfish, I'm human. But if you like if I'm driving down the road and someone cuts me off, of course they cut me off. They're more important than me. They have somewhere to be. You know, if you have that kind of mindset with everything in your life, then it'll eliminate a lot of the selfish anger responses you have toward the world. You know,
Mm,
life isn't about you. It's about everybody else.
I like that. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh, the modern advice that like, trust your feelings, follow your heart. You know, that's bullshit. Your feelings and your heart will lie to you. You know, and I teach my kids all the time that have like emotional control issues at my school that feelings are neither good nor bad. They are what they are. They help you in a lot of ways, but they can hurt you in a lot of ways. But feelings, whether good or bad, it's your actions
Mm,
that dictate who you are as a person. You know, not I was mad. It doesn't matter if you were mad. You're not allowed to hit people. You
yeah,
know, you're not allowed to hit people. You're not allowed to rob people. You know, just because you're mad at somebody or you're sad or whatever, you know, do the right thing because it's the right thing, no matter how you feel.
for sure. Last question. What are the three words you tell your younger self?
3 words I'd tell my younger self: never give up. I
Mm,
know it's cliche and a lot of people say it, but it's cliche for a reason. You know, like life is hard and it'll beat you to your knees if you let it. But most of the most amazing things ever accomplished in the history of the world um, were accomplished when there seemed to be no hope at all by people that just refused to quit.
brother,
So
I
and
love it.
never give up ever.
It's been an honor and a privilege, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. And I'll hope to see you soon. If you go back to the UK, compete, I'll be there.
Yes, sir.
Man. All right. You have a good day and I'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.